There's a crucial molecule in your body that helps control everything. Your circulation, your energy, your stamina, your heart, even your sharpness of mind. It's called nitric oxide. But after age 40, your body makes less and less of it. Less blood flow, less stamina, less of you. But now there's N101, the nitric oxide lozenge developed by Dr. Nathan Bryan, the world's leading nitric oxide researcher backed by Nobel Prize-winning science. N101 is designed to naturally restore your body's nitric oxide levels. Just do what I do and let one dissolve in your mouth twice a day. I especially make sure to take it before workouts. N101 goes to work in minutes, releasing nitric oxide directly into your bloodstream, supporting healthy circulation, boosting oxygen delivery to your muscles and brain, helping you feel the way you're supposed to feel. More energy, better blood flow, sharper focus. Day after day. N101, it's the science of you working better. Visit HoffmanNO.com. That's HoffmanNO.com and use coupon code Hoffman10 for 10% off N101. Welcome to today's Intelligent Medicine Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ronald Hoffman. It's your weekly opportunity to send questions to us because it's Q&A with Leyla. Q&A means you send questions, we answer them. Today I'm with Leyla Muden, who is our nutritionist in residence. And the place to send questions to is questions@drhoffman.net. That's drhoffman.net, not the .net, not the .com. The .com is our website, drhoffman.com.
Yes.
So how you doing, Leyla?
Okay. Nice June weather we're having. How are you doing?
Good, good. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's this kind of optimal temperature. Mm-hmm. A lot of people out and about. A lot of excitement here in New York. It's going to be kind of a crazy summer because it's starting up with Knicks Mania.
Oh, my gosh.
And then there's the World Cup. And then there's a big golf tournament out on Long Island. And then there's the 250th anniversary, and goodness knows what else is going on. And it's going to be kind of a wild month here in New York.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Stay cool, everybody.
Indeed. Yeah. And avoid the traffic jams because it's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Right. So we have a bunch of questions.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks for helping us fill our weekly agenda with your questions. Your questions prompt great discussions. Before we get to questions, I just wanted to touch upon a couple of things that I talked about in last weekend's radio program. If you don't already listen to the radio program, a lot of people, you may be a fan of Q&A with Leyla. Please be aware that we have many resources at drhoffman.com, including a weekly radio program that I host, a 2-hour radio program. And we also have podcasts with distinguished guests. We've had some great guests on recently. So avail yourself of all the resources via drhoffman.net. Also, subscribe to our newsletter because you'll get great articles by yours truly, also by Leyla. Leyla is a weekly contributor. And so there's a lot of information that you could obtain for free. That's the key word. My favorite 4-letter word that starts with F, F-R-E-E. And that is available, all available at drhoffman.com. So what we talked about on the program is something called deprescribing. And we had a couple of interesting questions. And one of them, a very astute listener said, what do you think of the JAMA article on deprescribing thyroid in older adults? And I said, my goodness, this is such an erudite listener. They beat me to the punch in reading this article in a mainstream medical journal. So, we're talking about, a semi-pro listener who is following articles in medical journals. And what the article talks about is deprescribing. So you, Leyla, know what deprescribing is. Deprescribing is an art because what ends up happening is people, as they get older, they accumulate woes. And for each woe, there is a remedy. So they're a little overweight, so they could take a GLP-1 drug. They have a little high blood pressure. They could take a medication that helps with the high blood pressure. They could then take something for blood sugar. And then, of course, there's cholesterol. And then maybe they got some mood problems. And, pretty soon they're on 4, 5, 6 different medications. They can't sleep. They take a sleep med, and on it goes. And what ends up happening, and I kind of get it because doctors don't have a lot of time. Patients come in on a bunch of meds, and the doctors basically continue to prescribe the medications because it's sort of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. How you doing?
Yeah.
You seem to be doing fine. But I think that each patient encounter offers doctors an opportunity to deprescribe, particularly as patients get older. Now, why should we deprescribe as patients get older? Well, perhaps you can come up with a couple of reasons yourself,
Well, definitely side effects for one thing. For example, and if they undergo any lifestyle changes, like if they're taking a blood pressure medication, if they lose some weight and their blood pressure starts to come down, it would almost have to be deprescribed, or at least the dose would need to be lowered, or it become dangerous if blood pressure goes too low. So deprescribing should be happening. Things like AFib, there's another one.
Yeah.
People who have AFib, that's also kind of a lifestyle thing. Metabolic abnormalities or very low blood sugar may trigger that. Getting all of that healthy again, then you can come off those medications. And antidepressants, they're pretty much shown to kind of be short-lived.
Yeah.
And I know people who are taking them for years.
Yeah, I mean, I did. The temptation is, and I actually have an article that I talked about on the show, which is entitled "Rethink Long-Term Antidepressants," because a review finds little benefit beyond 12 months. Now, when they look at the effectiveness of antidepressants, there is maybe a small margin of benefit for acute depression. Although I have to say that a lot of the studies show that antidepressants don't work much better than placebo. So there's, but anybody who's out there who's had severe depression and then they took an antidepressant and they got relief, more power to you, because I mean, I think there's a place for that. On the other hand, there's so many people who have what's called atypical depression or refractory depression, and no amount of antidepressants, tried 3, 4, 5 different things, they don't work. But what ends up happening is that sometimes people get a beneficial result from an antidepressant and they say, look, let's not rock the boat. You feel good? You just stay the hell on your antidepressant. Yeah. Well, according to this study, it showed that people who are taking antidepressants for a long period of time, they try to go off and then they feel worse. Well, why do they feel worse? Is it the original depression coming back? Or is it that they're having withdrawal symptoms? And too often these withdrawal symptoms are minimized. And these can take a really long time to resolve. So you can say, well, I tried to go off for 3 months. I felt terrible. It must be because I'm depressed again. Well, no, you could have long-term withdrawal symptoms. The symptoms are pretty dire. You can have all kinds of really horrible symptoms. But so the studies may show that it's not such a good idea to take people off of antidepressants, but we're not sure if it's because it's causing withdrawal or because the drugs were alleviating an underlying depression. So the guy by the way, the guy who's a big proponent of this has been a guest on my program. He's Professor Horowitz, Mark Horowitz from Australia. And what he says, it's kind of clever, because he says, if the same approach was taken with cigarettes and feeling worse on stopping them was interpreted as evidence that people should continue smoking them, we know that would be absurd.
Oh,
right?
That's a great example. Yeah.
So I think we should, as physicians, take every opportunity to check with patients. Here's the other thing. As people get older, they change. Some people lose weight. They become a little more frail. So a medication that might have worked, when they were, 175 pounds, if they're now down to 145 pounds, that medication may be too powerful. Also, their metabolism may change. They may be more sensitive to the side effects of medication.
Yes.
So an example of which is thyroid medication. Now, we know that young people tolerate pretty good high doses of thyroid medication. They feel better. So we give them these medications at 45 or 50, they feel great, and then they just keep eating the same dose, the same dose, the same dose. And as you well know, because, you've worked with me, is that when we see patients together and they're on thyroid medication, I sometimes warn them that, like, okay, fine, I'll prescribe these for a while, but I want you to keep checking in every year at the very least, if not every 6 months. And we want to see if we can lower your medication, because we don't want to put you into overdrive. We don't want to make your heart race. We don't want to cause osteoporosis, because we know that too much thyroid medication can thin the bones, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so in the study, they said, let's check out what happens when we take people who have what's called subclinical hypothyroidism, which sounds like no big deal. But what it means is the TSH is high, but the T4 and T3 are okay. So there's people who, they got some lab markers and, they're not like profoundly hypothyroid. So they're usually on pretty low doses, like 50 or 25 of Synthroid or levothyroxine. And what they found is they took about 60% of them felt fine, even when they stopped their medication after the age of 60 or 65. The problem I have with this is it's not very individualized. And when they say they felt okay, I'm not sure what that means. Because okay means that you just don't feel awful. And I think that they were stacking the deck, in favor of getting off the medication.
We don't mean a lack of awful.
Yeah,
We want you to feel better than that.
So I'm afraid that a lot of doctors are going to read this medication, read this study, and they're going to flag their senior patients, and they're going to say, oh, you're on thyroid, let's take you off thyroid. And that is going to cause a lot of misery, because thyroid is so important, and a lot of people really benefit from thyroid.
That's true.
And, I think we should be judicious and maybe think about deprescribing. An example of this is, acid blockers. I think we have a question about acid blockers. People are on them for a lifetime. They're not supposed to be prescribed for a lifetime.
They're not.
Similarly, antidepressants, sleep medications. As you mentioned, an example, blood pressure. We have somebody, we work on people, we get them to lose weight, it's healthier diet, lifestyle, exercise. They may not need their blood pressure medication. They may need their diabetes medication anymore. We love to deprescribe. And I have cases where I had, a classic case was I had a woman come in who was recommended by her kids. In fact, she didn't necessarily want to come in because she was completely hammered. She was, suffering from dementia. And she had been a former Yale University professor. So she was not someone without intellectual capabilities, but she was suffering from dementia. And we did a review, and, I wasn't sure I could help her, but she was like 5 different medications. And I said, I'm not sure it's necessary for you to be on that statin drug. I'm not sure it's necessary for you to be on this antidepressant. I'm not sure it's necessary for you to be on, she was too many meds. We gradually peeled away the meds. And it's a little bit like that game of Jenga.
Yes.
Explain that game, because I haven't played that forever.
It's a bunch of blocks that you stack up.
Yeah.
You stack up high, and then you remove the blocks bit by bit, and whoever tosses the whole thing over is
it's the proverbial house of cards, because it may be that one medication is the very medication that's holding everything together. But if you carefully remove them, and you can't just say, go cold turkey on everything. No, that's terrible.
No,
but, just carefully remove them like, a skilled Jenga player. You can then ascertain how necessary are these medications. Is the blood pressure shooting up? Are the, patient's depression symptoms, coming back with a vengeance? And ultimately, she lit up. It's like Robin Williams in Awakening.
Yes.
Yeah, and the family was so grateful because they got mom back. And, that's just a classic case that I remembered. And, so often that can happen.
Yeah.
So anyway, deprescribing is a thing. We like to do it in medicine. And, certainly maybe integrative doctors like myself are a little bit more biased towards a more natural approach. So that thing in JAMA is interesting. But I just hope it doesn't deprive some people of the benefits of thyroid medication, because, even a little bit of thyroid, thyroid is, it's like the
turning the lights
energy.
on.
It's turning the lights. Yeah. It is like a power source for a lot of people.
Yes.
And to deny people that opportunity, even if there are marginal benefits, in terms of mood, sleep, energy, drive, focus.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Deep, restful sleep, a lack of brain fog, the cobwebs fall away. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's something. That's great.
Anyway, so deprescribing. I actually think that there should be deprescribologists. It should be a specialty within medicine.
Oh? Yeah. Well, don't you think, however, it's appropriate for the doctor who prescribed a particular medication to be the deprescriber of it? I don't.
So often it remains to other doctors to pick up the pieces where, you see 5 different specialists, they don't talk to one another. And,
That's true
someone
too.
has to take the helm and say, hey, does this all make sense? I mean, it may make sense from your standpoint, like you're taking care of the thyroid, you're taking care of the gastrointestinal system, you're taking care of the psychology, the psychiatry.
Yeah.
These smoke can start coming out of your ears with the interactions with these medications.
Exactly. And with many of the medications you mentioned, Dr. Hoffman, the deprescribing can happen, in a short period of time. They can come off and see how they're doing, feel well. In the case of antidepressants, it could take a year.
I took a taper.
You do have to do a very specific taper, but this has to be under the guidance of your physician. Please don't do this yourself.
I literally had a patient, and I think you may know the patient that we had in common, who it took us 15 years to get her completely off psychiatric medication when a doctor inappropriately prescribed very high doses of Ativan and other, which is anti-anxiety medication. But he said, no, this is not addictive. There's no problem. And then she couldn't get off.
And they are addictive, by the way.
It took years. Anyway, good point. All right. Good launch point for discussion. We've got some great questions. Let's take care of business, TCB, before we get to questions. And so listen up. Here's an announcement from one of our sponsors. You know that feeling. You're exhausted, but your brain just won't quit. You're staring at the ceiling, watching the clock, dreading the morning. Here's something that actually helps. It's called Kyolic Specialty Series Sleep Mushrooms Plus. And it's unlike anything you've tried before. This isn't some chemical sleep aid that leaves you foggy and dragging the next day. This is a clean botanical formula built around certified organic reishi mushrooms grown on real farms, not in a lab, combined with valerian root to help you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer, L-theanine to quiet that racing mind, and Kyolic Aged Garlic Extract, one of the most trusted wellness ingredients available for circulation and stress support. It's vegan, non-GMO, no gluten, no dairy, no artificial anything. Just 2 capsules, 2 hours before bed, and you wake up actually rested, not groggy, not out of it, just refreshed. Kyolic Sleep Mushrooms Plus from Wakanaga. Learn more about this and the entire Kyolic Mushrooms Plus line at kyolic.com. That's KYOLIC.com. Look for Kyolic at natural health stores nationwide and online. Thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting our sponsors. They are what make intelligent medicine a continuing free resource to you. And now, let's hear from one of our listeners.
Okay. This comes from Kay. She says, I'm 73 years old and pretty good health. I probably drink too much wine. I take a lot of supplements. I exercise when I can. Okay. My question is about serrapeptase. I've been taking it now for about 3 months. It's fantastic for my sinuses. It kept them clear, no sinus infection, the whole winter.
Just hold on that one. So what is serrapeptase? It's a proteolytic enzyme.
Yes.
And the thought is that in sinus condition, sinus infection, that mucus forms a protective layer, like a mucinous layer, that shields bacteria from your immune system and even antibiotics. And so this is a problem, and it actually is recognized by our ear, nose, and throat doctors. And so by taking a proteolytic enzyme, what does proteolytic mean? It breaks down proteins, and it breaks down these mucinous proteins that kind of hold on to this kind of petri dish, in effect, in your nose, which is like culture medium for bacteria and fungi. And also, they have anti-swelling capabilities. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of swelling that closes the nasal passages. So serrapeptase, might be a good choice for sinusitis.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, she was going to order some more and she thought she would try different brands. And she says, as I was looking at the different brands, one said in all capital letters, do not take for more than 4 weeks. And this scared me because I've been taking it for 3 months or more.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to search for more information on whether it's safe to take for longer than 4 weeks. I can't find an answer, but I'm worried. Am I going to ruin my liver or something?
No. Yeah. I don't see, I sometimes see warnings from one or another supplement company that I just feel are unwarranted. There's kind of it's a CYA kind of thing. When there's scant evidence that there is a potential problem, there may be some case reports of people coming to harm taking that. I haven't looked at it, but I think it's something that you can take at, safely for short periods of time. Was there a mention of something in MSK?
Yeah, there's another question, a similar question from Beulah.
Okay.
Beulah says, I have venous insufficiency. I wear compression socks every day. I'd like to take nattokinase.
Okay, so it's a similar thing. It's a similar thing. It has a potential to break up fibrin clots. Yeah. That's what nattokinase it's not a blood thinner, but it is a fibrinolytic. So that we've had patients who have deep vein thrombosis. We give them nattokinase. It's fantastic. It helps to break up the fibrin that binds together the residuals of the blood clot. Yeah. So various kinases are used sometimes in conventional medicine after a stroke or after a deep vein thrombosis. They're injectable things. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So Beulah says, I'm 86 years old. I hike, bike, I ski. I'm on a low-carb diet. I take about 12.5 milligrams of hydrochlorothiazide every other day and natto every day because I'm worried about the research, because it says that it's a clot dissolving, a fibrinolytic, as you said, agent. And Memorial Sloan Kettering says that there is a risk. It's a clot dislodging risk.
So,
what say you?
What I say is that Memorial Sloan Kettering has set itself as the arbiter of nutrition information. Yeah. And they have a very shallow and incomplete understanding of nutrition. And it's mostly based on the overzealous precautionary principle, which is we're going to tell our cancer patients basically to cool it with the supplements. And so in the guise of providing information about supplements, they are scaring people off of supplements. I know that sounds like a harsh statement, but the people who do nutrition at Memorial Sloan Kettering, and I invite them, if they get word of what I have to say here, I invite them to respond, and I'll even entertain them on the air, and talk to them. But I think they're dilettantes in the field of nutrition. And also there's a lot of capture at Memorial Sloan Kettering by a predominantly conventional medicine model. Yes. Which is, and look, I mean, if I had a very challenging cancer, I might go to Memorial Sloan Kettering because they might have the most breakthrough, high-tech, innovative treatment for a cancer that wouldn't ordinarily receive that kind of expertise elsewhere. Yeah. That's what they do. But when it comes to nutrition, I think they're lightweights. And they also, I think, spread a lot of fear and misinformation about supplements. And look, I mean, the notion that you take nattokinase and somehow it's like, the analogy is like when you put Drano in your toilet or in your sink, and then you dislodge large chunks of organic matter that is stuck in and it's going to, these things will go downstream and cause, havoc into your whatever, in your filtration system or your sewage system, or, that's not how it works. No. It's not going to, have a Drano-like effect. Exactly. Exactly. So, oh my goodness. So Beulah, do you want me to tell you what I really think? No, I was holding back.
Kay and Beulah, thank you very much.
Actually, we're about to do,
Yeah.
I think in a week or two, we're going to do a nice review about cardiovascular nutrients with Neil Levin.
Great.
And I told him, I really
Protocol
want,
for life.
I said, we know a lot about vitamin K. We know about, other things, Hawthorne and the importance of vitamin D and all these things. I said, let's focus on nattokinase. We'll focus on everything.
Great.
But I really want to look at some of the new research on nattokinase because I think, nattokinase is one of those things that's kind of like a B lister or a C lister kind of thing. And I just think it's underutilized. I think nattokinase is really important for cardiovascular prevention and for treatment. So it is a little different than serrapeptase. Serrapeptase is like, a proteolytic enzyme. And, but they both, have potential for dealing with, getting the gunk out.
Getting the gunk out. Exactly. All right. So we've got an email from Ben. Can you please talk about C. difficile and how to treat it?
Okay. Well, C. difficile, direct translation from Spanish, if you spell it instead with a C, you spell S-I. C. difficile. It is so difficult. And it is. It is very difficult because it's hard to eradicate pathogen, which is a Clostridium pathogen, which means it's spore encapsulated, which means it's kind of hard to treat. And it is the cause of severe diarrhea and sometimes ulcerations in the intestinal tract, and it can debilitate and ultimately kill you. It is primarily the result of excess antibiotic use. And there recently is a review of how many dentists still give patients clindamycin dental prophylaxis, which is the worst antibiotic when it comes to increasing the likelihood of developing a C. difficile infection. Also, C. difficile is often hospital acquired because it's very hard to kill on surfaces, and people who are hospitalized, who are weak and have a poor immune system, they are more likely to get C. difficile. So acquisition of C. difficile apparently depends not just on the presence of C. difficile, it depends on your microbiome. And if you are disrupting your microbiome with intensive antibiotic use, you're more likely to get C. difficile, and your immune system is not going to cope with it. So treatments for it involve the use of really high-powered antibiotics. And they're
different antibiotics.
Different antibiotics.
Right.
But there's more and more resistance to these antibiotics. And the most promising treatment for chronic C. difficile that does not respond to antibiotics is fecal transplant. And right now, there's a lot of promise for fecal transplant for conditions like colitis and severe IBS, but also even for, there's stuff on mood problems, there's stuff on autoimmune diseases, weight loss, there's all kinds of research. But, to get it for that, you'd have to go to some, like a crusty border kind of thing, kind of thing. So to a offshore clinic, unless there's kind of some renegade clinic that's administering it in the United States. So it is legal and appropriate and authorized for refractory C. difficile infections that don't respond to antibiotics. But there's also another treatment short of that, and actually hospitals now have this in formulary, which is Fluorastor, which is Saccharomyces boulardii. And for a really severe case, it's not going to work. But if you're getting antibiotics, don't just take a probiotic, take Saccharomyces, because it'll reduce your chances of getting C. difficile. And C. difficile can sometimes be treated with fairly high doses of Saccharomyces. What's been your experience? Do you have any patients with C. difficile who respond to that?
Not necessarily in particular, just that they've had to take either they either had to write it out. Sometimes it seemed to go away on its own, or they had to take some flagyl or some other antibiotic, whatever else that they get for that. And then, I
had an interesting experience once. I had a question from one of my patients saying, hey, my roommate is really sick, and could you see him? And so I said, fine. So I saw him, and he's like having very bad gastrointestinal symptoms. And I said, well, let me do a stool test. And I included a test for C. difficile. He tested positive for C. difficile. And it turned out he worked in a hospital. He was a medical resident in a hospital, and he acquired it. It was a hospital-acquired case.
Yeah. There you go. Interestingly, I have one client who is constipated unless she uses Saccharomyces boulardii.
Interesting.
Which is paradoxical because it's good for diarrhea. But working, and that's fine. And
it just may change the microbiome in some kind. What it does, since it may outcompete certain bad bacteria. And the bad bacteria may be responsible for her constipation.
Yeah.
It changes the balance.
Right? Microbiome is so important. So, Ben, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. And, let me just get on my soapbox a little bit. You watch a little, I know you're not on social media, but you watch a little cable TV, and you see ads for these like home emergency medical kits, right?
Yes, I've seen that.
And it's like, if you come down with a cough or, a cold, don't wait in a doctor's office. Don't wait for an appointment. Have all these things at your disposal, which include a convenient guide so that you can treat yourself. Hey, listen, I didn't need to go to medical school. I could have got one of those guides, from an emergency medical kit. I practice medicine. What do I need? I spent tens of thousands of dollars and took out loans.
Right.
4 years of my time. Okay. So you can get these, and it's like basically it's a suitcase full of antibiotics.
Yeah.
And what is it going to do to people's microbiomes? There's some studies that show that up to 8 years after taking a single course of antibiotics, your microbiome remains changed. It is hard to recover
from that. Yes.
And
you have to remember that you're also killing all the good stuff.
Sure.
The beneficial bacteria.
Yeah.
That for our immune function, among other things, and proper digestion and all of that. Yeah. People are still, wanting to go to the doctor when they have a really bad cold and give me a Z-Pack, give me a whatever. This works for me. And then it gets knocked out in 3 days, and then they stop taking the round of antibiotics, which that might be worse.
Then you get antibiotic resistance.
Yeah.
The next time you want to use.
Another way that we get antibiotic resistance, everybody please listen up.
Yeah.
Do not use antibacterial soap.
Yes, thank you.
It creates antibiotic resistance. Do not use antibacterial soaps. Everybody's using this since COVID.
Hey, you want to know another way? The water supply. We're drinking antibiotics. We're drinking antidepressants. We're drinking statins. We're drinking all this stuff.
We're drinking all kinds of stuff. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's actually harder to get those out than to kill the bacteria in water.
Yeah.
Because you can, thank goodness I turn on the tap and I don't think we're getting like cholera coming out of the tap anymore, but chemicals and, drug residues, maybe.
And people, don't flush your drugs down the toilet. Bring it back to the pharmacy and drop it off.
Exactly.
Drop it off.
Yeah.
You take it.
Yeah.
Just like when you do an oil change on your car, you bring it to your local AutoZone, Pep Boys, I don't know what. They have to take the oil from you, the used oil.
Yeah.
So recycle it properly. Yeah.
Yeah, and they have to take your computers too. You have to recycle them so that they can recycle them and then turn them back into those black spatulas that you use.
Right. On
your
nonstick fry pan.
On your nonstick, it's like 400 degrees and you're applying this, molten plastic to the food.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can't get away from any of it. Okay.
The law of intended consequences.
Right.
All right. Enough bad news for this half hour. Give us a preview of what we're going to tackle in part 2.
Oh, Rick says, I started climbing the stairs from the lobby to the second landing. I do this several times. Do you think it's worthwhile?
Okay, we'll touch base on that. I'm Dr. Ronald Hoffman. This is the weekly Q&A with Leyla, and you can send questions or comments, and we have some comments coming up, so we're happy to share those comments to questions@drhoffman.net. We'll be right back with more.